All right, there we go. It's wonderful to see everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is an enormous day for the Waterfront and for all of our partners down here on the Waterfront. We just couldn't be happier that you were all able to join us. And I'd just like to kick things off. My name is Marshall Foster with the City's Office of the Waterfront. And thank you all very much. And I'm going to introduce the man in the closet. He's very
With
fast.
my background, that's something very different.
Bob Donegan with Ivar.
So I have turned the sound off so you can hear.
What?
Everybody's in a good mood today, huh?
Yes.
I can't tell you what a delight it is to be back in this room with so many familiar faces, like Patrick and Carol, who've been here now for 15 years.
Yes.
So in March of 2004, the city released its first environmental impact statement on this project. It's 154 pages long.
Well, let's use that one.
In the end, the new one is 609 pages long.
We get paid by the page.
There's another one on the seawall, which is 450 pages long.
What are you trying to say, Bob?
There's another one on the park, which is 700 pages long. So it's been a long process.
So you needed the right mayor.
Clearly. So in the spring of 2006, a young attorney in the county prosecutor's office called me and said, hey, there's going to be a project on the waterfront. You need to be aware of this. And Sally Bagshaw and I, with David Yeworth at Allied Arts, began to talk about this project. That was 2006. In 2007, there was a vote of the citizens of Seattle, and they rejected out of hand both of the solutions proposed by Greg Nichols and the state. And so in 2008, the mayor, Ron Sims, the county executive, Tay Yoshitani, the port executive, and Christine Gregoire appointed a stakeholder committee, and several of them are in the room here tonight. There were 24 of us. In December of 2008, that group recommended that we do an elevated rebuild or take it down and let all the traffic go to the city streets. And the night that the city, the county, the state, and the port recommended that, the Tunnel Plus Transit group that used to meet in this room said, we don't want that. 23 of 24 of the stakeholders at the meeting, including Carrie Moon and Mike O'Brien, said, look at the Tunnel Plus Transit solution. And then what happened in 2009? A new mayor was elected who didn't like the tunnel. And so, despite a 77-19 vote in the state legislature, remember this is 2009, it's the bottom of the recession, it's the worst economic times, and the state passed the largest capital budget in the state's history, largely driven by the lovely and talented Ron Judd.
Lovely.
And the Sandhogs. But that wasn't good enough for that mayor. And so in August of 2011, he put an item on the ballot to kill the Tunnel Plus Transit solution, and it was turned down by 77% of the voters. So here we are, years later. Sally's on.
I need this visual aid for just a moment.
Sally and Tim Burgess are up on the stage at the aquarium when we did this.
The young one.
So the deal that was done January 13th, 2009, among all the electeds, you can see this. There's one elected still in office on this picture. You can look at it.
Dow.
Oh, Dow.
He wasn't the county executive. He was a county
legislature.
council member at the time.
That's right.
And so we're just as pleased as can be that after 15 years, we're finally about to step through another step. And unlike the past mistakes that we've made, this one was managed nicely by Marshall and by the mayor. When she met with us as a candidate in this room 2 years ago, everybody asked, how are you going to get the park done? And she told us she would listen to us, and she would pay attention to the issues we had, and she would work to solve them. And so together, the two of them took the complaints about cost overruns, safety and professional behavior in the park, a cap on the spending, and the amount, and they solved it. So it's a delight to be here after 15 years and make this happen.
Let it go, Bob.
And so our friend, former candidate, and now the mayor, Jenny Durkan.
All right. Well, with that introduction, so we're going to be signing here in a minute. I want to thank the two council members up here for all the great work they did on this before I was mayor. Amazing work. And when I came in and we would hit various bumps in the road, we'd group, and there were no more stalwart people of the vision of the waterfront than the two people standing here. Thank you. And for Marshall, not just a labor of love, but just a labor over time. Thank you for everything you've done. And, you know, I have to tell you, I think right now at this moment in time, some of these projects are the reason why it is the best job in the world to be mayor of Seattle, Washington. I got to start my morning at the Port of Seattle and went there for a tour and went up in one of the cranes, talked to the longshore, and looking at that port operating just, you know, minutes from here, and seeing the thousands of jobs, not to mention going up that and being able to see the Olympics, the Cascades, the water, the port, and then realizing we've got this working waterfront right here that we have to work to preserve in those jobs. But the next extension of what's going to be here is an amazing generational opportunity, and amazing. And I want to thank everybody in this room. Give yourselves a hand for this.
Yay.
I don't think people will realize how amazing this is until it's really completed, but the first step will be when that viaduct really comes down. You already hear, thank you, Ron, you already hear people talking about how much quieter it is down here. And when that physical barrier is gone and we're reconnected to the heart of our city, the Puget Sound, and have that back and forth, and then create this 20-acre amazing park, waterfront for all. For the next generation, I think, will look back at this time and thank everybody for having the wisdom, the courage, and the foresight to say, we have to claim these places for public domain, for the future, to make our city the best city anywhere. And I think that what we signed today gets us a next step closer, but it wouldn't have happened without the decades of really hard work leading up to this fight. But I really want to thank everyone came to the table at the end when some people came and Marshall was like, oh, I don't know, Mayor, if we're going to be able to do this. And it's like, let's get everybody in a room at different times. And everybody stepped up. Philanthropy stepped up more. And Friends of the Waterfront said, we can do this.
Wow, thank you.
You know, I want to thank them. The people, the business owners, both the residential and commercial said, you know what, we can do this. And working with the council, they said the city can do more. Let's do this because we will never look back and regret this.
Yeah, for sure.
This is one of those opportunities. Had we missed it, we would have really regretted it, I think, for generations to come. So thank you for all you've done to be able to have these connections of Seattle back with its waterfront. And when it's done, to have this amazing 20-acre park connecting the market with the aquarium. When Expedia gets built out, you'll have this promenade that stretches for miles, bordered a working waterfront. No city like it in America. So thank you for everything.
Way to go, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite days since I've been in office. And it actually started in 2004, just as Bob was saying. And I was chair of Allied Arts Waterfront for All. And I remember working with David Gayworth and Todd Vogel, and we created some illustrations. And the number of people that were engaged in that is phenomenal. If you go back and look at the back page of this thing we created called Waterfront for All, it's all the who's that were in architects and designers then. Many of them are still with us. But I'll tell you what happened. I met Bob DONEGAN. I met Bob Davidson, Kevin Clark. Remember Kevin, he was hollering at me, "You've just taken away our dock space with your designs." I'm like, no, these are just like preliminary. We're just trying to get some visuals out there. And what I learned, and I was an attorney in the prosecuting attorney's office at the time I was chairing this, is I could write words, but words didn't inspire like these illustrations did. And once these people were able to draw what this waterfront could look like with the connections through Pioneer Square and up through downtown, the Overlook Walk, which is now, and Matt Rowe was the one that first illustrated what it could be from the aquarium, from Bob Davidson's aquarium up to Ben, I don't care, you still are Mr. Pike Place Market for me, even though that you've sneaked out and gone elsewhere. But you all have done so much work. I mean, Mickey Smith, I look to you because you were just stalwart. And Skanska, now that you're right across the street, the notion of having these connections and making our downtown, as the mayor had said, it is going to be extraordinary to have this green space. David Gayworth taught me a phrase about we really prefer green over gray. And the idea of widening the sidewalks and bringing more trees in and making safe spaces for bicycles and for pedestrians. And that's what Heidi Hughes, you have been doing as head of the Friends for the Waterfront. I really want to say thank you. And all of the philanthropy, all of those of you who have been so generous in this room, and I know that Heidi will be she and Maggie will be talking to us all more. But I'm just proud as punch to do it. Today when I stood up and I'm arguing for the LID, LID, when people say, oh, it's not fair because you're having to pay more taxes, I mean, you don't think that my property, I live in Watermark Tower, a block away from here, that my property values aren't going to go up ridiculously as soon as this viaduct comes down and we get the 20 blocks? I'm proud to do it. And I want to say, Dale Bright, thank you to you and Labor for all of the people that are going to be building this for us. Yeah, it's an extraordinary group of people, and I know that Jerry Johnson's hiding back there because he's, he helps us.
He's buying.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. It's the kind of legal work, legal minds that you and your team helped bring to this as well. So I just want to say thank you, seriously, at the bottom of my heart. When people said, why did you run for city council in the first place? I said, no small part, it was to get this done. So today's a big day and I'm really happy. Thank you all. So my buddy Deborah here has been shepherding this thing through. And I know, if those of you who know her know that she's got some really spicy language sometimes, which I absolutely love. Why don't you tell them what you did?
No.
Come on. Just say hi.
Okay, I'm going to be very short and sweet. First of all, yes, Mayor Durkan. We have been, and I've been saying this, fiercely optimistic that this was going to happen. I don't know if some of you were watching committee, but I told everyone I felt like I'd been pregnant for 3 years. I needed ice chips. I just wanted it out and done and over with. But behind the scenes with the mayor, particularly with Marshall, because we did the Seattle Center as well, NHL, a bunch of other stuff. I mean, what a team. And maybe it looks good on camera, but let me tell you, behind the scenes, it's like, no, it's too late for those amendments. That's not happening. That's why we had an 8-0 vote today. Councilmember Gonzalez was in D.C., so she couldn't vote, but we knew what we needed. And I want to thank particularly the mayor's office, particularly Mayor Jenny Durkan, because our job is much easier. Let's just say, I want to say without using a bad word. It's much easier to work with a strong executive who has vision and understands the politics of what we do when we have to horse trade and move things forward. And I think people lose sight of that. One of the things that I'm so excited about, even though I was born and raised on the Puyallup Reservation, is Tacoma did the same bonehead thing too. They ruined their waterfront, but somehow 15 years ago they figured it out. We need to open up our waterfront. So in the coastal Salish word is Haishka, meaning thank you. We should all be connected to the Salish Sea. That's who we are. You guys as well. You don't need to be Native American to have that feeling. Most of you were born and raised here or are from here. You are of the sea. And this is a public park. It's everybody's park. People in Eastern Washington are paying for this park. And again, we could not have done it without the strong leadership of Mayor Jenny Durkan, and I'm really proud to work with her. And of course, my drinking buddy, Sally BAGSHAW.
Let's make this real law.
Trying to shame us with all those notebooks.
That's right.
Look at your pins.
So there's 3 separate ordinances, as you know, that we have to
Oh,
sign.
really? Just 3?
And for people who have not been involved in a signing before, I use multiple pens for each of them so that people can come claim the pens who have worked on this so long, so hard, and it's actually a pen that was used to sign. Really?
You're right, gender.
Hand marshal that first part.
Sally's gonna get this one. Sally?
Thank you.
You wanna give that to Bob and Heidi?
I need some for donors.
Wow.
You want to auction them
A
off?
few donors have asked specifically.
It's public benefit.
Oh, yeah, okay. Here, Marshall. Who else do you want to give it to?
I'd love to hand a couple of these to some incredible public servants who've helped to make this possible. There are a lot, but I want to just call out Dorinda Costa from our office.
Yay.
And he's going to try to avoid this, but Joshua Curtis, who
Where's
really
Joshua?
led this effort. And I also want to call out, and she's trying to hide, Tiffany Malake. Who's
Where's Tiffany?
So the first of the 3 is signed.
Yay!
Apparently I'm your lovely assistant.
That's right, and my assistant, Carol Merrill.
Yeah. Lovely assistant.
You don't have to quietly give it to Ron Judd.
Yeah.
It'd be the first quiet thing that Ron Judd got.
So we should probably save 2 for Maggie and Charlie.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll save 2. I'll give you 2 more. Oh, how many pins do you give out?
Well, we got all these over here.
Got lots more coming.
Why am I doing it? Why am I standing here handing these out?
Because you are awesome. Right.
How's it going? Is it drop the F-bomb?
You, I hope not.
Thought about it.
So the next big signing like this will be the MOU between the city and the aquarium, which is the next
That's
big
right.
development.
Lord.
So the second is final, and the third will be what actually creates the lid, which will get all of it going, but each one of these was necessary. And believe it or not, each of the documents required so much work by everybody. I have to thank all of everybody's efforts on those. And the last piece of legislation, which makes it all official, which means we'll have the financing to construct this amazing waterfront park. Yay. Give yourselves a hand again. And I will say, as mayor of Seattle, I'm particularly happy that of the over $700 million that is committed to make this the most amazing project ever, only about a third of it comes from the city of Seattle. So thanks to our partners who stepped up enormously to make this happen.
Good at this, Mary.
She's getting really good at it.
That's because everyone's like, could she finish already?
D, U,
You
R.
ever spell it wrong by the time you get down?
That's right.
Wow, you timed that pretty dang good.
And I got one extra though. It's like IKEA, you end up with one extra nut.
Oh, dang. How'd you do that?
It's official, we're gonna have an amazing waterfront.
Just decide who wants to go out to the door.
Eat, drink, and have chowder.
Yay.